Check it. 3 questions. Let's go. Number 1. What's up? Why is spiral shaped in the press?
Oh, okay. So do the thing.
Okay, do you need a bell?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna use this one. Oh,
that's heavy.
Yeah, but it's nice.
All right.
It's red. It's my son's favorite color. Okay.
So what we're talking about is the question we got was, why don't we go straight up? Okay. Can you go straight up?
Was that straight up?
Not really.
Should I get a lighter bell?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, here we go. We're not gonna cut this. We're just gonna go quick. All right, here. This one looks like it'll work. Straight up? Like that?
They're not even.
I don't even know. Oh, like this? Okay, why not?
So what?
Sorry for all that.
So one of the questions we got was a question about the shape of the press. The first thing we need to consider is, why are we pressing? Are we doing hard style, or are we doing kettlebell sport? Kettlebell sport's about efficiency. So you want a nice clean path. They will recommend going straight up because their presses are precursors to other moves. There's not a lot of shifting this way. Usually they have double bells. There's a lot of shifting that way. They've got weight belts on, and a lot of the shifting is forward and back. So from an efficiency standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. But when we're getting into heavier weight, we're talking hard style. There's a specific reason why we see the spiral. There are actually several. We're just going to cover a couple. So first things first, we've got to go over the scapular plane. So the scapula will sit on the rib cage at an angle here. And in order to get good quality motion out of the shoulder, you need the scapula to sit on the rib cage well. Go ahead and turn to the front. What that's going to look like is you're going to bring your arm out. It's going to look like roughly 45 degrees visibly. The values are usually about 30 degrees of the angle forward of the scapula. So if you want to be anatomically strong, you need good scapular movement. You can't have good shoulder movement really without that. Or you're going to have something else, which kettlebell sport usually does. They've got a lot of extra momentum from the body. So one, it keeps the anatomy in line. 2, when we're looking at moment arms, so the things that are going to essentially make the press feel lighter or heavier. If we bring the arm out to here, okay, so if we consider this an axis of rotation, okay, it's rotating here, and we consider the line of force here, this is about as long as that's going to get. You want to minimize that. So you don't want to press here. You're not going to be able to press very effectively here because of the scapula, but even if you turn this way, with that arm up, you've also got that similar moment arm. So what you're looking to do is, with the spiral, you're keeping this as close as possible until you're getting higher. At this point, this arm is turning out. That's what the spiral allows you to do. The higher you go into the press, the less the moment arm is going to be. So as this arm gets straighter and straighter away from 90 degrees, the moment arm is going to get less, the bell is going to be effectively lighter. So what we want to do is we want to find how can we keep this close until we get above 90 degrees and then start turning out. So we want to keep that as close as possible. Now another thing that we want to think about is the hip. If you bring the bell forward, okay, so go ahead and resist me here. Okay, he's resisting me, but I'm not really pulling that hard. But this is not
super
strong.
Hard.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not strong.
It's not a strong position.
Okay.
Don't get upset. Turn this way. Same deal. You can see the line between his hand and the bell. So this spiral shape allows the arm to stay closer as he's going overhead and keep the bell over the hip a little bit better. So those are the 3 biggest reasons. 1, keeping the shoulder blade in the scapular plane. 2, trying to get higher with the bell before the moment arm goes out. Okay, so if you can start in this position here before you really open up and take up some of this space. In more of a rotational capacity, it's going to be easier. Okay. Keeping the bell over the hip. And one other thing that we really need to think about, I'm going to add one more thing. When you have the bell in your hand, okay, that bell is also going to create kind of a moment arm, okay? So that's going to be the axis of rotation. The bell is going to sit here. Now, when you have a kettlebell in your hand, it's going to want to do one of two things. It's going to want to roll this way, or it's going to want to roll that way. We can't let the bell roll this way, okay? We're going to be weak, we're not going to be able to press. Plus, we want to respect that scapular plane. So the other option is the bell rolls out. As the bell rolls out, we're using the natural tendency of the bell to break inertia. Inertia is just the tendency of an object to stay in the state that it's in. So if the bell wants to roll out, we let it. And as it's rolling out, we're pushing. One of the rules of inertia is that it's much harder to start an object moving rather than to keep the object moving. So if we use the internal mechanics of the bell, that natural rotation of the bell to start the press going, it's going to be easier to continue rather than to start. So those are some reasons.
Excellent. That sounds great. I'll have to edit this part because I realize I have all my shit in my pocket still. Looks like a lame ass. Okay, question number 2. Are there any moves that aren't really a good idea? Specific example was that squat swing thing that we see everybody doing sometimes.
Do you know how to do it?
I don't know.
Show the people.
Let's see. Hopefully I don't blow out my
No,
knees.
no. Turn so they can see the goods.
Okay.
I want to see from behind. Give the people what they
from behind,
want.
like all the way in the back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm up on the sides. I don't even know if this is right. Shows you how often I do those. They don't even fit in my manual. Okay.
So that was an example which I thought was a good example because it's a move that sometimes people will say that's contraindicated. So I guess a big blanket statement, are there any moves that we think are contraindicated? The answer is categorically no. People who say this move is contraindicated usually do it for the sake of convenience. Sometimes we need to make assumptions. If I'm giving general advice to somebody who I don't know their history, I don't know, really the context in which the move is, the move exists, I would say learning to snatch on day one with a kettlebell is probably contraindicated in a lot of cases because people just aren't probably going to get it down.
Right.
But there's nothing physically or anatomically that says they can't.
Right.
So, when we're really looking at reasons to contraindicate things, there are very rarely reasons that apply to everybody. If you've got a knee injury and squats hurt your knee, then squats will be contraindicated.
Right.
However, a lot of the time, the thing that your knee needs is a squat.
That's true.
So
just get that right range of the squat.
Exactly. So then we can get into loading, we can get into range. But the point is, a lot of moves, and I think this one, a lot of people like to bash on the squat style swing and say that it's unsafe for your back. Personally, and if there's one out there, I'd love to hear it. I've never heard a good argument to contraindicate the squat style swing. People say, it'll ruin your back, blah, 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 but they don't talk about why or how. There's nothing inherently that when you do a squat swing is going to be bad for your back. Now, there are some differences, biomechanical differences that are going to apply to a squat style versus a hinge style swing. And I would say there's probably more of a margin of error for a hinge style swing versus a knee dominant swing. But that being said, there's nothing that says that when you do those, they're bad for your back. And in fact, I've mentioned this before, but there's a pretty famous study where they did squat style swings to test the safety of the swing. So most of the time these things blow up. As an industry, we'll get biased. Spinal flexion is bad. We want more hip extension. We don't need knee extension. Your hip flexors are too tight.
Don't lock out your joints.
Yeah,
my psoas, bro.
Yeah. So there's a lot of truth to these things, but when you really look at anatomy, the idea that one movement is good, external rotation of the shoulder is safe, internal rotation of the shoulder is unsafe. These things are just not right. And when you dig into anatomy enough, what we need in context is we need some balance and we need enough range of motion to perform the movement. So There's nothing inherently good or bad about things. It really is just about the individual.
So my main contraindication for what I just demonstrated was coordination.
Those jeans.
No, these are flexi jeans.
Okay.
Don't trip. You can see them on the internet and shit. All right. Question number 3: heavy swings. How do I level up?
So I guess the real question is, what is getting in your way from getting heavier? Generally doing volume is sufficient. We have certain metrics that we will check. We tend to start with a ladder for movements, and then once we can hit, let's say, 3 ladders of 3 ladders 1 to 5. So for one arm swings, that's going to be 30 swings per ladder. So we're doing a total of 90 swings.
Right.
At that point, then we start working on maybe every minute on the minute or some timeless work, and we're adding a time component. But the point is, somewhere in between the ladders and the time work, that's generally when you can think about going back to the beginning of the ladder process and starting to work with a heavier bell.
Got it.
So let's say you're doing, you can do one arm swings with a 32, and you want to bump up to the 36. Generally, once you can do 90 swings with the 32, you can go back to the process. You can start working your time component with the 32, and then you can bounce down, back to the beginning of the process. You do your singles with a 36 or a 40.
I like that.
So generally, volume is going to do the trick. But there are a few things that we can think about. 2 of the things that we can really focus on now is, one, we've got to isolate what is the problem. For a lot of people, myself included, the thing that gets in my way is grip. I've got leg strength. That's not really a big issue, but I don't have, especially when we're getting one of those big 48 kilo cast iron bells, don't have really big hands. So what I do is, yes, I train my grip. I have to, but I'll take a strap and I will strap it to the bell.
Should I put this strap on?
Go ahead. Yeah, strap it on.
I'll tell you a funny story about this band I was in later. Is that right? Do I have the strap on right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll know.
It's my first time.
So go ahead and do your swings. Now this is really light for him, but he's just showing you. He can release his fingers, and that bell's not going anywhere. So
reconnect those fingers so don't trip.
So what we're doing here is we're taking away the grip component. So if you can do, let's say you can use the strap and you can do a swing with the 40 or a 48, then obviously your limiting factor is your grip, and then you're going to want to go through and do a bunch of grip exercises. It may be something else, it may be stance, but the first thing you're going to really need to do is figure out what is getting in your way. So you want to go back and you want to check your form, make sure that's dialed in. Another thing that commonly gets in the way of people belling up is consequences. Now, right now, people are working out and everyone's locked down. They're afraid of letting that thing go. Take it outside. I've seen people go outside and suddenly be able to do a max whatever because they're not worried about dropping the bell because they've got grass.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Usually when you're outside, your training surface will impact your force into the ground. So you may feel a little weaker, especially if you're in spongy ground. So try to get on a nice firm surface, but taking it outside, that way if it drops, and it's not a problem. It's not a problem, then suddenly your swings will get heavier. Some very basic things to do, carries.
Yeah.
So, just to take different variations, do doubles, great for the midsection, great conditioning in a lot of cases, because you can tack that on to your existing work. Work your grip. You can try some bottoms up presses. Those are pretty solid too. But if it is your grip, then I would start with some carries and some bottoms up. If for whatever reason it's a leg thing, I would do your 2-arm swing. 2-arm swings, when they study them, seem to be better at producing force. So I would go and see if you can get some bigger bells and do some 2-arm swings. Generally, if they're, we really don't have time to get into mobility type stuff. So we're going to assume everything is functioning well. Maybe this is the weak link here, and then you can do, maybe some overhead carries, some offset carries. Do some basically some general midsection work. I really like double rack squats to get stronger because they will help your grip and they will also help your midsection. Yeah. So just because the moves don't look alike doesn't mean that one won't help the other. Yeah.
Also, side note on those carries, make sure you're giving some extra attention to this pinky side. We always all tend to over grip a little bit here. Getting that in there will help improve your grip as well.
You can play with the grip with your carries.
Yeah, you can just sit most of it on
these
people. Okay, well, what are we talking about here? All right, so we got this bell and we got that bell. So as I carry, I can move my thumb and really put the pressure on this front part. I can move it to there. I can release these and focus my carry on just these last 2 fingers. All sorts of ways like that. Anything else? No. So carry on, my wayward son. Some people will get that. People older than us. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that was
All right,
sweet.
cool. Check us out. Sign up. Save it. Do all those things. Send us your questions. We will answer them. Stay strong.